You see the battlefield is not out there. It's in here, right up in your mind. Question is, what are you feeding it? What are you believing? Because let me tell you, family, success, it doesn't start with a job title or a paycheck or applause from the crowd. No, it starts in the soil of your thoughts. And today I came to ask you, have you trained your brain for victory, or are you still letting the past train you for defeat? See, the Bible says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, not your circumstances, not your neighborhood, not your followers, but your mind. So today, we gonna get in the gym of your mind and we gonna train like champions, because you can't win on the outside. If you've already lost on the inside, can I get an amen? Are y'all ready? Let's get into it. Rewire your thoughts to rewrite your outcomes. Let that sit with you for a minute. Rewire your thoughts. Rewrite your outcomes. See, too many of us are trying to write a new chapter with the same old pen. We want to change the story, but we keep showing up with the same thoughts, same patterns, same mindset that wrote the last chapter of heartbreak, failure, disappointment. And the truth is, you can't produce a new life with an old mind. You want to know why the cycle keeps repeating, why the relationships look different, but the heartbreak feels familiar, why the jobs change, but the frustration stays the same. It's not the people, sis, it's not the place. Brother R, it's the programming. It's the blueprint running silently in the background of your mind. And if you don't pause, if you don't confront it, R, if you don't stop and say, wait, what belief is driving me right now? You will keep walking in circles, same wilderness, different year, same patterns as different faces. But here's the good news. You can rewire your thoughts. You can reprogram the patterns. Science tells us the brain is not fixed, or it's not stuck, it's not cemented. It's plastic, malleable, it can be renewed, reshaped, and rebuilt. But you gotta be intentional about it. Because if you don't program your mind, life will, culture will, trauma will, fear will, and fear is a terrible teacher. Now, let me ask you this. What is the story playing on the loudspeakers of your mind? Is it saying, I can't, I'm not enough, people like me don't make it, I'm too late? Or is it saying, I was made for this, I'm being stretched, but I'm not being broken. My past doesn't have the power to hijack my future, because whatever you feed your mind, that's the fruit your life will produce. Proverbs tells us, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That means you are what you think. You are the echo of your thoughts. You are walking, breathing evidence of the conversations you've been having in the dark, when nobody's watching, when nobody's clapping now, when nobody's validating. And see, some of y'all, you've been asking God for a harvest, but you haven't checked the seed. You want abundance, but the soil of your thoughts is still polluted with comparison, still infected with fear, still tangled up in scarcity. And let me tell you something, you can't reap where you haven't been willing to uproot. You can't walk in new territory if your mind is still renting space in the old neighborhood. So how do you rewire? How do you break the patterns? How do you shift the programming? It starts with awareness. Start listening to yourself. Start paying attention to the words you speak, not just to others, but to yourself. You might smile on the outside, but what's the dialogue on the inside? You might post confidence online, but what's the narrative playing when you lay your head on the pillow? You gotta catch those thoughts, snatch him up, hold him captive, challenge him. Ask them, who sent you? Who told you that? Is that faith speaking, or is that fear? Because once you bring the lie into the light, it starts losing its power. Once you name the pattern, you can break the pattern. Once you see the prison, you can walk out of the prison, but you can't change what you won't confront. And once you confront it, you gotta replace it. You can't just tear down the old wiring and leave the space empty. You gotta install a new blueprint, you gotta speak life. You gotta meditate on truth. You gotta feed your mind what you want your life to produce. That's why I'm a believer in affirmations, not because they're cute, not because they're trendy, but because repetition is how you rewire. Repetition is how you reprogram the brain's pathways. The same way trauma is wired into you through repetition of pain, healing can be wired into you through repetition of truth. The same way fear is installed by hearing the same negative words over and over, faith can be installed by hearing the same powerful truth over and over. You gotta remind your mind of who you are. You gotta remind your mind of what God said. You gotta remind your mind of what you've already survived. Because if you don't remind your mind, the enemy will, and the enemy's favorite weapon, your own voice. He don't need to show up with horns and red suits. He just slips into the scripts you keep repeating, the lies you keep believing, the labels you keep wearing. So today, we snatching back the pen, We're going to stop letting the enemy write the narrative. We're going to stop letting the old version of you write the next chapter. We're going to pick up the pen of faith. We're going to pick up the ink of truth. And we're going to write, rewrite, rewire. Discipline your inner dialogue before you expect external success. Yeah. I said what I said. Discipline your inner dialogue. See, some of y'all been out here trying to control everything on the outside, the schedule, the team, the environment, the look. But what about the inside? What about the private conversations happening when no one's around to clap for you? What about the thoughts that creep in the quiet moments, when the lights are off, when the emails stop, when it's just you and your thoughts? Let me tell you something powerful. It's not the haters on the outside that break you down. It's the critic on the inside. It's not the boss's rejection that limits your next level. It's the self-rejection you rehearsed before you even applied. And here's the truth most folks don't want to say out loud. You can't conquer the world if you haven't conquered yourself. See, success doesn't start in the room. It starts in the mirror. It starts in the mind. It starts in the secret place where only you and God know the conversation's taking place. And some of us, we've been casual. We've been careless. We've been undisciplined with our inner dialogue. We let fear sit in the driver's seat. We let insecurity narrate the story. We let doubt rent space in our head, no security deposit, no permission slip, but we let it stay. And then we have the audacity to expect success. We expect breakthrough. We expect favor. Let me make it plain. You can't plant the seeds of doubt and expect the harvest of destiny. You can't water your mind with fear and expect your life to bloom in purpose. So today, I'm challenging you to discipline that inner dialogue, check it, to regulate it, to put some authority on it. When that voice says, I'm not enough, you're going to respond, who said that? When that thought says, what if I fail? You're going to clap back, but what if I fly? Because you cannot let thoughts just walk up in your mind without checking their credentials. You wouldn't let a stranger walk up in your house, sit on your couch, raid your fridge. So why do you let thoughts of fear, thoughts of defeat, thoughts of insecurity just move into your mental space and make themselves comfortable? Discipline is not about denying the thought. It's about directing the thought. It's about interrogating the thought. It's about putting the thought on trial, asking it, where did you come from? Whose voice am I really hearing right now? Is this truth or is this trauma? Because some of us, we've been mistaking trauma for truth. We've been mistaking survival instincts for strategy. We've been mistaking fear-based thinking for wisdom. But fear is not wisdom, baby. It's not wisdom, it keeps you small. It's not wisdom if it keeps you hiding. It's not wisdom, it keeps you shrinking in rooms you were anointed to dominate. And discipline is not something cute. Discipline is not optional if you want success. Discipline is the bridge between the version of you that dreams and the version of you that manifests. It's the bridge. And your inner dialogue is the traffic on that bridge. If the traffic is clogged up with negativity, if it's blocked up with self-sabotage, if it's jammed up with old scripts and old narratives, you ain't never gonna make it to the other side. You gotta clear the lanes. You gotta put some boundaries in your mind. Every thought can't have access. Every memory can't have a seat at the table. Every whisper can't get a microphone. You gotta curate your thoughts the way you curate your circle. You gotta vet your thoughts the way you vet your investments. You gotta protect your mental energy the way you protect your phone battery. Because hear me, you can have the talent, you can have the vision, you can have the connections, but if your inner dialogue is undisciplined, you will talk yourself out of everything God is trying to walk you into. Oh, I need somebody to hear me right now. You will self-sabotage every blessing. You will minimize every opportunity. You will rehearse failure more than you rehearse success. You will show up in rooms and shrink. You will get in circles and disqualify yourself before the enemy even opens his mouth. You will play small. You will hide behind perfectionism. You will let overthinking rob you of movement. And let me tell you something, movement is the language of faith. Faith don't sit still. Faith don't second guess itself all day. Faith don't wait for applause to move. Faith moves first. Faith steps first. Faith speaks first. And if your inner dialogue ain't disciplined, it will never let me speak first. It will let fear speak first. It will let your past speak first. It will let generational patterns speak first. But today, we flipping the script. We putting the truth on the mic. We letting faith get the first word. We letting purpose set the tone. We letting power frame the narrative. And discipline, it's not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about consistency. It's about catching that thought at 7 a.m., again at 12 p.m., and again at midnight, and reminding it, you don't run me. You don't get to dictate my destiny, because I know who I am, and I know whose I am. And if God called me, then my inner dialogue better get in alignment. Or get out of the way, feed your faith louder than your fears. Feed your faith louder than your fears. Because let's be real, fear's voice, it ain't quiet. It doesn't whisper politely in the corner. Oh no, fear gets loud, fear gets bold, fear gets messy. Fear will get up in your face. A fear will step into your dreams like it owns the place. Fear will tell you what you can't go, who you can't become. And if you don't feed your faith louder, if you don't turn the volume up on what God said, if you don't amplify your belief, then fear will set the soundtrack of your life. Let me ask you, what's been louder lately? Is it faith or is it fear? Is it, I am more than a conqueror, or is it, what if I fail? Is it, I was created for such a time as this, or is it, I'm not qualified for that room? See, your faith is not passive. Faith is a fighter. Faith is a force. Faith is an action. But faith only grows when you feed it. And some of y'all, you've been feeding your fears more than your faith. You've been scrolling, feeding your fears. You've been comparing, feeding your fears. You've been rehearsing old failures like they're your favorite song on repeat, feeding your fears. But what are you feeding your faith? What are you putting on your mental plate that's nourishing your belief? What words are you letting seep into your spirit? What voices are you surrounding yourself with? Because here's the thing, whatever you feed the most will grow the most. Whatever you water will bloom. Whatever you starve will shrink. You can't expect faith to be strong. If you only feed it once a week, you can't expect faith to lead. If fear is the one you sit at the head of table, some of y'all got fear sitting in the CEO chair of your life, making executive decisions, signing off on your dreams, approving your next move. And faith is sitting outside the boardroom, waiting on an invitation. But faith doesn't wait for an invitation. Faith walks in the room. Faith flips the table. Faith says, we gonna run this thing now, but you gotta feed enough to have the strength to speak up. Feed your faith with truth. Feed your faith with the word. Feed your faith with testimonies. Feed your faith with action. Because every time you move scared but still move, that's feeding your faith. Every time you show up when fear tells you to stay home, that's feeding your faith. Every time you speak up even when your voice trembles, that's feeding your faith. It's not about not feeling fear. It's about starving fear of the attention it craves and feeding your faith with the focus it deserves. Faith don't need perfection. It needs participation and repetition. It needs reinforcement. And see some of us, we've been giving fear the luxury of our full attention while giving faith the leftovers of our day. We wake up and the first thing we do, feed the fear. We scroll the news, scroll the chas, we scroll the comparison. But what if you flipped it? What if you woke up and fed your faith first? What if you filled your ears with affirmations? What if you saturated your space with declarations? What if you set the tone before the world tried to set it for you? Because let me tell you something, faith is a thermostat, not a thermometer. Faith don't take the temperature of the room. Faith sets it. Faith walks into a space and changes the climate. Faith says, I know what the facts look like, but I also know what favor feels like. I know what the report says, but I also know what God promised. I know what the past looks like, but I also know what redemption can do. But that kind of faith don't show up by accident. You gotta feed it, you gotta protect it, you gotta water it when it feels dry. And here's what I learned, faith is the most in famine. Faith grows the most when fear tries to scream the loudest. Faith grows the most when life looks the darkest, but only if you choose to feed it. See, the enemy knows if he can get you to stop feeding your faith. He ain't gotta steal your future, just lets you forfeit it yourself. So he sends distractions, he sends delays, he sends detours, and you make you think God forgot, to make you think you're stuck, to make you think you missed your moment. But faith says, I'm still here. Faith says, if I got breath, I still got purpose. Faith says, delay is not denial. Faith says, God's timing is still perfect. Faith says, what he promised, he will perform. But you gotta feed it daily, intentionally, aggressively. You gotta choose what playlist you let play in your spirit. You gotta choose what table you pull your chair up to. You gotta choose what thoughts you allow to sit in your mental living room. Because fear will always knock, but you don't have to let it move in. You can look it in the eye and say, sorry, no vacancy. Faith already rented out the whole space. Faith already put a down payment on my future. Faith already decorated these walls with hope, with vision, with expectation. And when fear gets louder, you turn the volume up on faith even higher. You drown it out. You shut it down. You outspeak it. You outpray it. You outmove it. Because at the end of the day, you can't walk in purpose with a faith that's malnourished. You can't break generational cycles with a faith that's starving. You can't change the world if you won't first change your mental diet.